Hey everybody, Mark here with you again. Hey, yeah, I'm fixing to pull this exhaust manifold off, and I just thought I'd show you what's going on. I got an exhaust leak, as you can see back there on that firewall. I got carbon buildup, and anyway, yeah, that O-ring there was leaking too, so uh, yeah, I'm fixing to pull this manifold off. It's either broke or cracked, and I'll have to get under the truck to show you. But yeah, I've started pulling it off. As you can see, I've got most of my nuts off of my turbo. I still got that one down underneath there to get off. But yeah, it seems to be a fairly easy project. It's just a lot of stuff has to get out the way. That intercooler and then that little old butterfly valve. But you know, if you're deleted and got all that stuff off already, that's half the battle right there, is getting that junk out the way. But anyway, let me show you down under here where it's broke, and it's right there. I don't know if you can see that crack. Looked like it broke completely in two in there. I don't know, but I'll know more once I get it off. But you can see the carbon all over the back corner of the block and the head. So anyway, we're gonna get it pulled off. I got just a Dorman. It's a Dorman ceramic coated to go back with. You know, I got to reading about manifolds, and there's so many different varieties and types and whatever. And I feel like I got a pretty good deal on that one through, I think it was Summit Racing. But anyway, that's it. And we're going to get this one out here in a little bit, quick as I get that turbo off of it and get these bolts out of the head. And we'll take a look at it and see just how bad it is. Here's that little old tool for that turbo. I got it on Amazon. It's I don't know. I've done a couple of turbos with it, and it's held up pretty well. You know, it hasn't stripped out or anything. You know, it's a cheap investment, especially if you're going to be doing the turbo job. Because some of them turbos, or some of them, all of them, you got the two back bolts that are fairly hard to get to. And this back one on the front, it's on the bottom, and the one, can't see it from here, but it's on the back side up next to the engine block, and it takes a thinner 15 millimeter to get in there because the head of the exhaust bolt is right there, and you don't have much clearance. So I'd invest in this little old tool if I were you. Just, it makes it a whole lot easier. I mean, unless you just want to grind down a 15 millimeter wrench and heat it and bend it. And anyway, that's the little tool. So let me get started pulling that turbo loose from this thing. Well, as you can see, I got it off. You can see number 6 was definitely leaking. And I'm not so sure number 3 wasn't leaking either. No matter which way I stand or hold the phone, I get a shadow on it. But yeah, I'm gonna say maybe number 2, number 3. Anyway, but down to the real problem. You can see that crack right there. And it goes all the way around to the other side. Right in there. So, anyway, I got the other one. See about getting it on here in a little while. Now I did, let me zoom out a little bit. Yeah, I had to take that alternator loose and roll it back a little bit to get to that bottom bolt on this number 1. But yeah, I can see I got a little bit of an oil leak too. But yeah, number 6 was definitely leaking. Maybe number 2. I don't know. Can't tell with all that oil buildup. But anyway, I'm gonna get it all cleaned up and I don't know, I'll either pull the studs out of the manifold I got or use the ones they sent. They sent new studs, but they only sent 4, and I need 5, and you'll need 5, because there's 4 on the top and 1 on the bottom there. And then they sent these new exhaust bolts, but none of them got studs on the end for the little heat shield. So I don't know what I'm gonna do about that, whether I'm gonna be using these or reusing the old ones. But yeah, they didn't send enough studs. I may call them and complain, but anyway, there's the part number on it for the exhaust studs, and for the exhaust bolts, I should say. The studs don't have a part number on them, but those don't look like they're hardened to me. I would think they'd be black like these exhaust manifold bolts if they were hard. But anyway, as you can see, I got my level out here, checking the straightness on this old manifold, and it's straight to the best I can tell. Of course, the level, who knows? I don't know how accurate it is, but I'm using it for a straight edge. But anyway, all right, I guess we need to see about getting studs out of this and see about putting them in that other one. Okay, I'm just about ready to put this new manifold back on, or put it on. Now, they send you this little stud kit and these new bolts. There's the other 6. But what happens is, this is the new heat shield and the old one. The new one's a little heavier. Of course, there's nothing wrong with this one. But the new one is just a little heavier gauge. Overall, they look and appear to be the same. The new one has a little more coverage on that corner. But what happens is, using their bolts there, it actually sits right down on this manifold. There's no air gap. So I'm probably going to use my old bolts, because when you set it on there, it's right down on the manifold. It's in full contact with the manifold. And if you put the new bolts in, as you can see, it's got there's probably a 1/4 inch gap right here on this one corner. And by the time you suck it down, it's going to be right tight up on that manifold, which defeats the purpose of the heat shield. There's supposed to be a little air gap between there to help dissipate the heat. Whereas if you put it on here, the heat's just going to radiate right through it. So I'm going to definitely use the new heat shield, but I'm also going to use my old bolts. These new ones, they just don't compensate to give it that air gap. Now, they give you 4 studs, and they don't tell you what they're for. Well, if you look at the manifold, you need a total of 5, because you got 4 on the top side for the intercooler and that EGR bypass valve. So you got the 4 up there, and then you got the 1 on the bottom. Yeah, I put my old one in from the old manifold. And anyway, I pulled my old ones out. Well, I got 3 of the 5 out. This one, the threads are boogered. The threads are really messed up on that one, as you can see. Yeah, I could probably clean them up with a dye, but anyway, these are a little bit shorter. Well, when I called them yesterday complaining about it, they said that heat shield was supposed to be up against the manifold like that. And these 4 new studs were for the turbo. They said for the square flange, you know, and I'm not going to try and take the other 3 out of the turbo. But they said that for the 4 up top, I just needed to use my old stuff. I mean, the manifold itself looks pretty decent. I'm not sure, you know, time will tell. And I'm not sure about this ceramic coating. But I'm going to try it out and see what we get. But yeah, half of the bolts I'm not going to be able to use. And I'm going to have to put them new studs up top and just see if my other stuff, if I got enough thread to bolt my other stuff down with. So let me get these studs in and see what we got. Well, I got the studs in for this bypass valve, and I know you probably can't see with shadow, but anyway, it definitely looks like I'm gonna have enough thread protruding. I just put an old gasket on there for crush purposes, but as you can see there, there's not much. What can I say? It's not very centered. The gasket itself, it's the old gasket, but the hole itself is not very well centered. I don't know about that one just yet. We'll take a look at it. But these studs, I may go check with my local auto parts, because these look like just ordinary zinc plated. I don't think they're heat treated. And I definitely don't think there's stainless steel. So overall, if I had to do it again, I don't think I'd buy this manifold. Now that I've got it here, but I've got my truck apart, and my truck's my livelihood, so I got to get back to work. And I don't want to put a Band-Aid on the old manifold. So, but anyway, yeah, if I had it to do again, I don't think I'd go with this manifold. I believe I would look into one of them two-piece manifolds, simply because of the mounting hardware. I mean, I'm sure the manifold itself is just fine, but the aggravation of the mounting hardware, because these little old studs from, well, Dodge wants $20 a piece for them, basically, online. I don't know what I'll be able to find at the local auto parts. But anyway, I'm going to go check it out at the local auto parts before I put this thing back on. Okay, I got it back together for the most part. I'm just kind of letting it warm up a little bit. But yeah, I went back with that new heat shield instead of my old one. And I used all my own exhaust manifold bolts, simply because theirs suck the heat shield up. When you put their bolts in, it puts that heat shield right on that exhaust manifold. That may be okay for the 5.9, but not for the 6.7. Overall, I'm okay with it. If I had it to do over again, I'd buy another brand. The hardware is not right. When I called them about the 4 little old studs, they said they were for the turbo, and I'd have to reuse my own studs for the bypass valve there and the EGR cooler. So, as you know, them studs ain't coming out of that manifold very easily. I managed to get 3 of the 5 out. So I wound up using some of their studs and some of mine. So, but anyway, I would not recommend this Dorman manifold. That's just my personal opinion, just because of the hardware issue. But other than that, it seems to fit okay and sounds okay right now. But I'm just gonna let it idle and warm up, check the coolant. All right, hope this helps. Hey, be sure and hit that like button, and thanks for watching.